Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. Sakura Bro here with a new series drop. I'm so excited. If you guys have been, if you follow my TikTok or if you follow my Instagram, then you already knew that this was in the question. So for those of you who already know about the series, welcome. A lot of people were actually wanting the series, so I was like super happy about that because it was mostly a yes. I didn't really get any no's for the poll that I did, because sometimes it still does. I do it anyway, so like I usually end up doing what I want to do in the meantime, but like I just like to hear you guys' opinion, so that's why I like to do the polls. So yeah, sometimes it is just in case. So welcome to the golden years of Hollywood. First episode, Jimmy Durante, the life of Jimmy Durante. I am actually a big fan of him, and I am also sorry that like this video got like bumped to like, it's like 3 p.m. when I'm recording this. I wasn't feeling well earlier today, so until I started to feel better, I just was like just chilling out until like I started to feel better. So yeah, sorry for the later of this. Anyways, I am a big fan of Jimmy Durante, and he is probably from the very early years of Hollywood, and he is a matriarch of how Hollywood was in that time. And for early television, anything basically, he was in the movies. He did a lot. He was basically a performer ever since like he was a kid, essentially. Not like kid, but like once he turned, when he was like in his teens, that's basically what happened. But he's a very charmistic guy. There's still a lot of fans for him around today. I'm probably the one of the young, probably the youngest fan of him, exactly, because a lot of times when I do bring Jimmy Durante up in any conversation with like either acquaintances or friends, they have no idea who the heck I'm talking about, and it's so funny because like I get to literally like explain who he is and everything else, and a lot of facts that I already know before making this video. I did do a lot of research and everything, so I was putting it all into this. So I'm just happy. Also, before we fully start the video, I just want to thank you for everybody who saw my Elvis movie review. The part 2 of that will be coming soon. It's just like my schedule got all messed up, so I apologize. And that's why I've been like uploading a lot very recently, so I'm gonna try to stop doing that for a while because I want to give you guys like one video a week. And yeah, I'm gonna try to get back on schedule, but it's just hard. But yeah, thank you for like the 300 views on that video. Like it's almost like 400. Thank you so much. That's amazing. And yes, I'm also an Elvis Presley fan. Speaking of Elvis, we were in an antique shop, and there was literally one Elvis thing in that whole store, and I literally saw it, and I just started like screaming, fangirl screaming. My mom had to literally tell me to be quiet because like that's how bad it was. So yeah, anyways, let's get into the video. The life of Jimmy Durante. He was born February 10th, 1893, so he is, if he was still alive, I would be surprised if he was still alive. Like, he would be older, if he didn't die when he did, which I will explain that, like, closer to, like, the end of the video, because we're talking about, like, his early life right now. But, like, if he was still alive and he didn't die when he did, he would have been older than Betty White. And also knowing him and his personality, he would still be performing as well as, like, Betty White did up until she passed, which she basically passed early this year, so Rest in peace, Betty. So yeah, she was also from like early Hollywood. I'll do like an episode on Betty White later on, but like this is Jimmy's episode. Hell yeah. And also he had multiple talents. He was a comedian, singer. He was a piano player, and he also acted a lot because he acted, he played the piano. He could kind of play other instruments. I don't really remember, but he was mostly remembered for his piano skills and him being a straight up comedian. Most of his humor still literally just, it has not gone old. If I find it funny, it's not that old. But everyone's opinion's different. He was the nicest star in the golden years of Hollywood. You would literally straight up go up to Durante and he would literally be nice to you regardless if you're famous or if you were middle class, like I'm middle class, and then or lower than middle class, basically. Like he would be nice to basically everyone. Everybody loved him. Which it was hard to literally hate him because of how charmistic he was. A lot of people think that he was ugly and everything because he had a ginormous nose. He had little hair. Some people think that, but I don't think that because mostly it doesn't really matter what you look like. It basically matters how you are as a person and your character. And like he was way too funny. He was just a fun person to be around. So like to be able to think that he was unattractive would basically be impossible. Trust me, if you guys look Jimmy Durante up, pause this video, look him up, and watch some of his performances and tell me he is not like the person that you would want to hang out with. Like seriously, tell me in the comments. Like heck yeah. When he was growing up, he was born and raised in the east side of Manhattan, New York. And he basically lived there for most of his early life. So he was literally working and just chilling in New York and east side of Manhattan. I've never been to either one. Still waiting on that because I didn't get the... Usually people they have a field trip in like middle school or whatever. You go to like New York and stuff like that. I didn't get mine. My sister went. I didn't get to go. She also went to like Canada and Washington. I didn't get that, but like I can't blame that because we didn't have the money to do that. So I chose to stay home because it was just better that way, honestly. And he also had a New Yorker accent, but like he also, I don't know, to me he sounds like he's from Brooklyn or New York. And but technically, since he's from New York, he has a New York accent. But to me, he sounds a combination of from Brooklyn, Boston, and New York all together. But that's just me. Everybody's different. He wrote and composed music. He also directed orchestras. Whenever there was an orchestra playing, he would be the one directing them on what to do for whatever song. He would also be a part of the orchestra because he played the piano. So like it depended on what was going on, what they had planned and stuff like that. And so like he also basically, if you guys have seen I Love Lucy, Desi Arnaz, who played Ricky Ricardo in that show, I still don't understand why he didn't use his full name because Lucy used hers, but whatever. I'll look it up later. I don't this is not the time for this, but like Desi also did similar stuff as Jimmy did, but he really wasn't a comedian. He was mostly, I mean, he did do some comedian work, but he wasn't like a straight up comedian like Jimmy was. They also actually got to perform together, and I watched their performance on YouTube. That was actually the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was great. And also, like, Desi was a lot older than he was in I Love Lucy in that series. I think he also performed with Lucille Ball, because I've heard about that, and it said that somewhere. I don't think I wrote that down, but, like, they did, and I want to watch it so bad. Because, like, that would be straight up gold if they got to, like, if that did happen. I don't know. I'll check later. So, he played in a lot of clubs when he was a teenager. He dropped out of school when he was in 7th grade. So basically, in half of middle school, he basically was like, literally like, nope, not for me, out. Like, you were able to literally do that a lot easier back then if I did that. Oh gosh, I wouldn't be where I was today, honestly, if I did that at all. I said directed, but it's conduct. You conduct an orchestra. I keep doing that. I keep saying directed, but it's actually conduct. The reason why he got famous was basically because of his nose. He had a ginormous nose, and his nickname was the Snaz, or the Snazola, because people would literally make fun of his nose. He also straight up made fun of his nose, and that was literally most of his career. And he was just likable because, like, he could just go through with, like, insulting himself, and he was just a very relatable person for everyone of every class or status. And it's just, he could get along with everyone. A lot of the songs that he wrote basically came from, like, how, because he wasn't well off as some of the other stars in Hollywood were, or nowadays, because a lot of people get famous nowadays because of their status beforehand. Like, their parents just had a lot of money and everything, and that's how they got all the connections and everything. But Jimmy worked his way up and got up there, and everything, just by doing gigs at clubs, playing ragtime piano. He played a lot of classical piano, but he also played the 20th century ragtime, kind of like the Alexander ragtime that came out in 1912, for, like, the music in the Titanic, because literally the Titanic was in 1912. Basically, Jimmy was, like, very young during, like, the 1920s, in the 1900s in general, because, like, he was literally born basically at the end of, like, the 1800s, basically. He was born to his parents that weren't well off, and he's Italian also. So he grew up in an Italian family in New York and everything. He mostly worked with jazz music, besides doing, like, ragtime piano and everything else and classical stuff. All of his songs are jazz. Usually, they're mostly jazz influenced, or they're basically straight up jazz. That's what he preferred, and that's basically what was popular in that time. Actually, jazz music is actually still popular now. I could literally listen to straight up jazz if I wanted to. Mostly his music. I've actually listened to a lot of his music. He narrated for Frosty the Snowman, that came out in 1950s. He also sang the original song. and I accept no other Frosty the Snowman song. It has to be the one that he sings. Literally, I do not like any other Frosty the Snowman song. It has to be him singing it, honestly. And he also didn't have the best voice, but the way he sang in music helped his career because he put a lot of emotion into it. It didn't matter if he basically sucked. There was no auto-tune back then, so that they couldn't put auto-tune in there. But to me, he has a good singing voice, but like everyone sees things differently or hears things differently. So basically they're being honest, so it is, I can see why they would think that, but like and also most of his songs weren't just like regular songs. Like it would go from song to skit, song to skit, song to skit, and he was above his time, literally, because it was just amazing. Spotify has playlist of his music, and then it also mixes in music of that same time period in there. But like his skits are hilarious. Literally. Either was with or without a song. He performed from the 1920s all the way through the 1970s, and he also had his own TV show, the Jimmy Durante show, I think it was called. It had to do with his name, so I think that was it. And then he also had another show, that was a talk show too, or it's all the same thing. I totally forgot, my bad. He also acted in 51 movies. I counted, but when you look it up on Google or Safari, it says he worked in 10 movies, which is not true because it says 10 movies, and then when you press the arrow to show more, it basically shows you all the movies that he was in or he had some part in. And I counted all of them, and it was 51. So I was literally like, why is it telling me that it's 10 when he did 51 movies? Makes no exact sense. No exact sense. Yeah, yeah. He was married twice. His first wife was Jean Olsen, and then his second wife was Margie Little. He actually wrote a song called Margie, and I listened to like the beginning of it. It's I still think it's adorable he did that. I don't think he wrote a song for his first wife. I don't know. I never heard it. He probably did. I just don't know, but I know for exactly that he did write a song for Margie, and that's the sweetest thing ever. It's so cute. So yeah, he was married up until either one passed. He married Jean, and then they were married all the way until like 1921. She passed away, and then he married Margie in 1960, and then they were basically married for like the rest of his life and her life, honestly. One of his catchphrases was "ha cha cha," said he would say in a deep voice, and that just reminded me of a song that he basically wrote that was fudge. It's just because like the name sounded similar, because it was I forgot the name of it, but he did say in a lot of his performances he would say that that was his catchphrase. He basically said that all the time. At the end of his performances, he would literally say, "Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are." He would always look at the camera. At the end of his performances, he would literally turn to walk off the stage, and then he would look back at the camera or the audience and say, "Good night, Mrs. Calabash," and then he would look up and say, "Wherever you are." Basically, that's what he did. It also explained why he said that, but I'm not going to explain that in this video. You guys can look that up, honestly. He's buried at the Holy Cross Catholic Cemetery in California. So if you want to go visit him, do it. But like, if you're not going to be respectful, then please do not. Because he wasn't a bad person. He doesn't deserve to be messed with at his resting place, honestly. If I could visit where he's buried, I would. But that's too far away, honestly, because I don't live in California. He was Catholic as well, so that explains why he was basically buried at a Catholic burial ground. It really doesn't matter what religion you are. You can basically just be buried in like any cemetery, honestly. But like, I can see why people would prefer to be buried somewhere versus somewhere else. He had a great career in Hollywood for the span of time he worked and everything. He also owns a club in downtown Manhattan called the Durante. The reason why it was called Durante is because they couldn't afford the E. So they couldn't afford the E, so it was basically just Club Durante. What the heck? It was called the Durante. The club was called the Durante because they couldn't afford the E. And he actually adopted one child in his time. He also liked to dress as someone less fortunate because that's just the style he preferred, and he didn't want to be like dressed up fancy as like example Elvis or Marilyn Monroe, like how they dressed. He didn't want to be dressed like that, and also he's older than both of them. Way older. And he basically took the style of like someone from like the streets as someone in the 1940s. And he also wore a beat up fedora. I love his hat, actually. He wore his hat all the time because he wasn't comfortable with his hair because he was balding, which was normal for his age. He didn't really have much hair. And he also made jokes on that as well when he would perform and everything. So that was just adorable. But I get why he wore it all the time. Plus, he looked great with the hat. It really completed his look. Like, everything that he basically wore fit his personality so well. It worked with him. I always loved his outfits. He basically wore the same thing every time, which a lot of people would literally be mad at, but like, I understand because he grew up in like hard times, because like this was the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So basically, most of the movies that he was in was basically took place during the Great Depression, which was in the 20s. And 1929 was the year that the stock market went crazy. That was also the year that my grandfather was born too, so that's ironic. He was one of a kind, and people cannot copy Durante at all because he was, again, one of a kind. His personality, nobody can match his energy except for like one person, but I forgot who she was because that was like, I watched that video too long ago. But if you've seen that same video, then you know what I'm talking about. There's people who do try to impersonate Durante for stuff like that because they're either a fan or like they're doing it for like money, kind of like how there's like Marilyn Monroe impersonators, or there's Elvis Presley impersonators, and they were similar but different, but nobody could literally just like reincarnate as Jimmy Durante, because nobody can do that, because like his personality was so out there and so distinct that like people can't really copy it. I mean, there are some good ones, but like again, nobody can be Durante. As I said before, he was relatable to people of the third class or second class because just of how he carried himself as a person, and the jokes that he made just related to that. And also he basically just, as someone from the third class, even though he was rich as heck, he actually made a lot of money. And he worked a lot. He loved show business. He knew that he was made for the stage from a young age, and so he just kept going with it. His parents actually wanted him to play classical music on the piano, so he had piano lessons because of that. But he literally was like, nope, doing my own thing, basically. I mean, he did do what his parents wanted for like a little bit, but then he went on to pursue his dreams and everything. So good for Durante, because it worked out anyways. He always forgot his lines, but he did really great improv. You can literally see it when he ran up the stairs in the scene of Little Miss Broadway. This was a Shirley Temple movie, and so he literally dressed up someone similar to Shirley because they were trying to take Shirley back to the orphanage in this movie. I'm not trying to spoil it, but like I'm just trying to explain the scene. And so it almost worked until the girl's husband came around, because they were little people, and and then he literally looked at them. I posted this on my story a while ago, so it's probably still there as I'm recording this, so you probably can watch the scene yourself on Instagram. But like, he looked at them, then looked at Durante, and then Durante literally got shocked because he was trying to tell the guy to literally just be quiet, just they're gonna get the girl back and everything because they planned it out, but he got scared because his plan didn't work, and then he basically didn't say anything. He turned around shocked and then just ran up the stairs, and then the guy chased after him. But it was just funny how the way he chose to run up the stairs was just hilarious. I love that scene so much. And how I got the clip from that is because my grandmother owns the VHS of Little Miss Broadway, so every time that there was a Jimmy Durante scene, I basically recorded every time he was on screen. So I have like a mini series of clips of him in that specific movie because I got it from like the VHS tape from like the 2000s or whatever, when it was like remastered or whatever. Still funny, so go watch it. When he was young, as I said before, when he lived near the east side of Manhattan, New York, he also lived close to the Chinatown. Like, it was like one street away, I think. That's what I found out. He showed talent early on with his piano, but like nobody really noticed, basically. And almost every performance he did a lot more performances with piano than he did without piano. But every time he did a skit singing and playing piano, it was literally the good time. Like, you could see his personality on full fold there. It's amazing. He actually played one of my favorite ragtime songs, Maple Leaf. And then he also played like a couple other ragtime songs. But like specifically for him to play that, which I didn't know beforehand, I was just happy because I love that specific song. So I was like, of course, ironic. And then I already said that one. He also played Wild Chair, which was another ragtime song as well. I never played it, but I'll probably listen to it later. Before he got famous, he played at clubs as a ragtime piano player, which I basically kind of already said. Yes, Momo. Sorry, that's my cat in the background. She likes to meow a lot. She meows all the time. Oh my. She's not even looking at me when I'm saying that. Oh, so cute. Before he got famous, oh wait, crap! I already talked about that. I keep rereading the same things. I apologize. Oh, he worked at Diamond Tony's Coney Island Saloon. So in Coney Island, he basically played at Diamond Tony's Saloon. I have no idea if it's still there. It would be dope if it was, because, like, who the heck would not want to stand where Jimmy Durante played, honestly? I would love that, actually. At 17 years old, he tried to get as many tips as he could while he was working in the clubs as a piano player. And he actually got a lot of great tips because he was just very talented, honestly. And that was before he did, that was like way before he did comedy. Everybody loved his comedy. Everybody loved his piano skills. They just loved Durante as a whole. I can relate to that. He was also bullied as a kid because of how he looked. I can relate to that. He was also very shy at the start because of that. So he wasn't always the extrovert that you see when he starred in movies and acted and did stage shows. He was mostly like quiet and shy at the beginning because of the bullying and everything. But in the end, he got confident with how he was, and also he was actually a ladies' man despite how he looked, because of his character. His character of person was bigger than how he looked on the outside, and his personality was just so energetic that, like, everybody just straight up loved this guy. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, if you ever watched another video covering Durante, you'd hear me, not me saying it, it's other people making these videos, like, you would hear them basically saying the same stuff. When he was working at the Almino Club Almino, I think I'm saying it right. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. That's where he and his jazz band basically started, and they came together at that specific club, and they worked together since then. I don't think that they broke up or anything. I have no idea. And everything. As I said before, the club that he owned eventually was in downtown Manhattan. It was like they had, I forget, because it had a thing on the ceiling that some of the clubs did. Like it was like, I don't know, because it's like, it had like a floor thing. I don't know. Like they had like something on the ceiling. I forgot what it's called, honestly. But It was just something that most of the clubs had at that point in time, in that time period. It kind of looked like the club that they made look on I Love Lucy, the Copacabana. I think I said that right. I don't think I said that right. Probably. Like, it looked like that. That's what I'm saying. It was like similar to that, but except it wasn't all on one stage, because I Love Lucy was recorded in front of a live audience, so they had like a ginormous stage and they had to fit so much stuff on the stage. But when you would watch it on the TV, it did not look like it was on the stage at all. They did really good work in the 50s, literally, because I Love Lucy came out in the 50s. I think it should have. And Jimmy died January 29th, 1980. He died from a stroke. Well, actually, he had a stroke, and then he had like 2 strokes. One that left him paralyzed for a while. So he was basically bound to a wheelchair for like the last years of his life. And then he passed away in 1980 from another stroke. So that was just, it was a sad ending for such a beautiful man of history, for the golden years of Hollywood. And I probably missed a lot in this video, so I apologize. And I also apologize why it's so long, but this is an episode of history, and this is supposed to be about his life, so of course it's gonna be like around like 36 minutes long. So yeah, he is still a loved comedian today for people who actually are still a fan of him, regardless of how old you are. And it's still sad that he had to pass away like that, because again, he was such a beautiful man, honestly. Especially in those times, in that time period. He basically wrote a song that I listen to all the time, Smile, because Smile, that specific song just reminds me of my grandmother, mostly because she always told me as a kid to smile more, because I just had a bun face, basically. I had like the resting serious face, basically, all the time. I still do, but I just like listening to that song because of the memory and everything. And also I just like listening to that song because he's just super positive. He also has a lot of good quotes that you can find on like Pinterest and everything. It's just beautiful. We miss you, Durante, and you're one good person. So this is a tribute to Jimmy. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Golden Years of Hollywood. This was the life of Jimmy Durante, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. More episodes on fellow stars in Hollywood history and the Golden Years of Hollywood coming soon. But our first episode here is of Jimmy, as I keep saying. You can tell I'm a big fan because I keep repeating this over and over. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.